computer, show you already created application. First, I'll show you simple things like brightening an image. Then slightly more involved things are contrast and contrast enhancement. There are a couple of techniques over there for contrast enhancement, and I'll show you those. So let me. Let's see a little better. This. Okay, so if you guys go to the course website, as I mentioned in the last lecture, http bridgeport.edu /CPEG585. Okay, so I've added, by the way, the 2019 link, and you also have material from previous times. If you go to the handouts, okay, you'll see an application over here, image processing 2010. So your first assignment will be basically to recreate this. So recreate this image processing 2010 application. Anyway, that's the code I'm going to show you and talk about brightening, contrast enhancement, resizing images, and so on. Okay. And very briefly, if you are completely new to C#, I know some of you are. So like I said, what you'll do is, okay, make sure you have Visual Studio installed. If you're running into any difficulty, let me know. Okay, so what you will do is you'll create a new project, file, new project. Okay, then under Visual C#, you'll see something called Windows Desktop. Okay, and then a Windows Forms application. Okay, then over here you'll pick a folders where you'll be creating all your projects. So for example, if I browse it, go to the C drive. Okay, I already created a folder for CPEG. Sorry, I didn't create one. Let me create one. New folder. Let me call it CPEG585 Spring 2019. Okay, select folder. So the location is basically pointing to the CPEG folder that I just created, CPEG585 _ SP 2019. Now Windows Forms application under Visual C#. And now I'll give it some kind of a project name. For example, let's call it image application or image app. Okay, let me just call it image app. So once I click OK, it will create some infrastructure. Okay, and this is the form I was talking about, right? And over here you'll see there's something called a toolbox where I can put a button, I can put a picture box. So what you will do is you'll make it bigger. Okay, then you will go to the toolbox. For example, under all Windows forms, you'll double click on a button. So we'll end up putting a button over here. You can place it wherever you feel like it. Then you'll go to the toolbox, locate a picture box so that we can display an image. So picture box, let me see. Okay, so now I'll give some meaningful name to the picture box, meaningful name to the button. So for example, if I select the button and by doing a single click on it, then this is called the properties window over here. In the properties window now, I will go, there's a name property. If the name property is, you're having a hard time locating it, there's an alphabetical tab, button over here. Just click on it, then scroll up again. At the very top, you will see the default name. So typically for a button, we will name it like BTN display, for example, like I was showing you earlier. BTN lowercase, display D capital. And then give it a text property. Whatever we say in the text property appears on the button. So if I go to the text property, I'll say display, right? And then for this one, I'll just call it just the name property, pick one for right now. So the picture box is given a name property of pick one, BTN display with a text property of display. So the idea is we click on it to display an image. Okay? So now to write the code so that if we click on it, it gets executed, I'll simply double click on the button. And like I said, I'll say bitmap BMP equal to new bitmap. Okay, if it is already showing up like a light blue color, like you see on my screen, right? Then it's okay. There's no need to right click on it and see what namespace it belongs to. So most likely by default, if I go to the top over here, it already has this given to us so that we didn't have to do that. Okay. Anyway, like I said in the constructor, now I'll put the name of some of the one particular image as an example. The file names are not case sensitive. So if let me go pick one image that I already have on the D drive. The images, okay, so for example, Tom Brady. Football is coming up. So okay, and now if I say pick one, that image equal to BMP. Okay, so very simple two-line code program. So if I run it, so to run it, you'll go to the debug menu, and you have two choices: start debugging, start without debugging. If you were putting breakpoints and wanted to step through it, then you'll do start debugging. But for right now, start without debugging. Okay, and if I now go display, so here's the picture that I selected, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the very, very basic how to load a picture, okay, using C#. And by the way, I know some of you have been in my previous classes, are very comfortable with this one. Even if you're new with it, don't worry, even if you get stuck somewhere, we do have a teaching assistant for the course who's very helpful. I'll put her information on the website. So especially in the beginning, you get stuck, it's giving you some error, you have no idea. You can either email me or email the teaching assistant so that I guarantee you, first couple of weeks, you may find it a little bit stressful, but pretty soon you'll say, oh, this was so easy. right? As you discovered in the previous course. So then we'll start to do a lot of fun things. Okay, anyway, now let me show you the program I was talking about. So I created a program very similar to this one, and the link that I was showing you, so once again, if I go to the browser. So I'm talking about this image processing 2010. I enhanced it a little bit, so don't download it today, wait till end of today. Then I will replace it with the updated version, which has a few more capabilities. Okay. Anyway, and by the way, all these assignments are from the previous semester. They will change quite a bit this semester, so don't worry about it. All you have to do is, for right now, worry about your lectures for this semester. So under video lectures 2019, remember I gave you the password was UB student and UB student 2015. Okay, so if you go back to the video lectures, so the 2 lectures are there, right? And as soon as the class is done, we'll try to immediately upload the lectures. So by 4 or 5 o'clock, hopefully we'll have the lectures uploaded. Okay. Anyway, under handouts, I'll keep putting whatever handouts are needed. Quite a few of these are old handouts, so don't worry about it. We'll replace them by the latest, greatest. So anyway, now let me go to this particular image processing application, which will be your first assignment to recreate. So I'll quickly show you the capabilities of it. Then some I'll describe today, some I'll describe on Wednesday. So first let me just run the application. So if I run the application, so let me see if you can see it's not too bad. Okay, so you will see there are some buttons over here, right? Some text boxes so that we can figure out how big the image is, how many pixels and so on, right? Okay, can you guys guess what this is? Here we'll be displaying the original picture, right? So what kind of control would this be? Picture box.
Picture box.
Picture box. This is another picture. So after we do some processing, the process will show, result will show it. So when I created it from the toolbox, this is one picture box, this is another picture box, right? All these are called text boxes where we can enter something. These ones where we cannot enter are called labels. And of course, these are all the buttons, okay? So for example, over here, you'll see I put a button called load image. So let me pick an image just to show you. Okay, let me pick some scenery over here. Okay, so here's the image I loaded, just like the code I showed you, right? Pretty easy piece of cake. Now, let's say we wanted to brighten it, okay? So I put one button over here, you'll see brighten image over here. If I click over here, what it does is it pops up another dialog, another small form. Okay, you can study the code to see how it was popped up, and I can clarify it further in the next lecture. Okay, so over here, basic idea is what do we want to add? So I gave an example. You can do 30 or minus 20. You know, as you were saying, what if we wanted to make it? So if we wanted to brighten it by, let's say, 25 pixels. I'm sorry, 25 to be added to each RGB value. So then as soon as I click brighten, it feeds this information to the function, which will have a double nested loop like I showed you, and go through each pixel. And okay, I don't know if you guys can see, let me make it even further brighter so that you can see the effect. Let me make it 50. Okay, did you see it became a little brighter, right? And take a look, was it instantaneous? If I go, let's say 60 again. Okay, watch how much time it takes before it slightly updates it, right? So as soon as I click, now it did it. So there's a 3-4 second delay, as you can see. So why is that delay? Because it has to go through that million times or more than a million times to process it, right? What if we wanted to darken the image? Same idea. So we can put a -50, for example. Okay, so you can see it became darker, right? So brightening, dark are extremely easy. Sometimes we want to increase the contrast of the picture, okay? So like, for example, if I show you, like, take a look over here. Okay, take a look at these two pictures. Okay, take a look at the top picture, right? It has a very low contrast. What do we mean by low contrast? Low contrast basically means that most pixel values are close to each other. Meaning the brighter pixels, the darker pixels. So for example, in this image, most of the pixel values probably are between 120 and 140 pixels. So everything looks similar, right? When we do the contrast enhancement, what we want to do is we want to do a separation in between them so that the brighter things become more bright, the less bright things become less bright. So that's called the increased contrast. Okay? So there's two algorithms for increasing the contrast. One is extremely simple that I'll show you. One is slightly more involved, which you will implement as part of your assignment, your first assignment, or maybe second assignment. Okay, so let me pick the same example. So if I load the image, where's the low contrast? Okay, so that's the low contrast, right? Okay, I put a button over here to apply a contrast. It doesn't show the whole thing, but it's basically change the contrast. I'll make it bigger next time. Anyway, suppose I make it 30 over here. So now I'm separating the brighter pixels. So if I apply okay, you can see a little bit better, right? So let me even try further. Let's see if I can show you this. Okay, so it becomes a little bit better, but still not as good as the picture was showing. And the reason is because the technique I'm using over here is a very, very basic technique. If I use a more advanced technique, like they were showing in that Wikipedia article, then it does a better separation, based on the histogram over here. So let me show you the technique I'm using. Okay, so if I go to form 1, and if I double click on this change contrast button, sorry. Okay. So what I did is, if you notice over here from the code, as you study this code and redo it, okay, for all operations like brighten or less brighten, what I did is I created another class and put static methods over there. For example, to change the contrast or to make it brighter. So the name of the class that I created is called myImageProc. So over here you will see there is a myImageProc class. So very briefly, if I show you myImageProc. Okay, first let me go to the simple function bright. Okay, so take a look at the brighten function, right? Just like I was showing you on the board, I'll feed in a bitmap, feed in a number, what to brighten it by, positive or negative. So there's a few checks I put over here. The brightness cannot exceed 255, right? Then you will see over here, like get pixel, right? Then extract the red, green, blue values, and basically if it exceeds 255, set it to 255, if it goes below zeros, just like we discussed. Okay, and then we put it back, color from RGB, just like we discussed, right? So that was the brighten image. Let's take a look at how the contrast is being computed, then I'll stop for today. So if you guys can pay a tiny bit attention to the contrast. Okay, so let's pretend somebody gave us some value over here, let's say 20 over here. So they wanted to change the contrast by 20, right? Okay, so if you take a look over here, I'm creating another bitmap. So this is basically a blank bitmap right now, nothing in it, because all I said is give me same width as the original image, same height as the original image, right? Then there's a couple of checks. I wanted this to be within -100 and 100, not outside of it. Okay, so here's the main code for, so if it was 20, right? Let's take a look over here. 100 plus n contrast 20, so this will become 120 divided by 100. Yeah. 1.2, right? Then what I do is multiply by itself, so this will become 1.44. Why? I'll give you the reason in a few minutes. Okay. Then basically I go into a double loop, obtain the value of each pixel, obtain the red value, green value, blue value, right? So the fundamental idea is like this. Okay, let's say the red value was right now 80 as an example. Okay, so I convert it to on a scale of 0 to 1. So 80 divided by 255, whatever that 0.3 something it will become, right? Okay, then I subtract 0.5 from it. So if the scale is 255, 0 to 255, okay, the midpoint is basically, if I divide every value by 255, then it becomes 0 to 1 scale, right? So the idea I have is, if it is below 0.5, we want to extend it this way, the value. If it is above 0.5, we want to make it higher value that way. So essentially what we are doing is subtracting -0.5, multiplying it by the contrast, then adding 0.5, then rescaling it to 255. The net effect is, like I said, any value that was above the 120, what's half of 255, roughly 127. Any value above here will end up getting shifted more high. Any value that's below will end up getting assigned a value lesser. So it's a very simple formula. So it does improve the contrast, but not as well as the histogram equalization, which I will show you in the next lecture. Okay. So at least for this week, I mean not this week, for next couple of days until the next lecture, if you can just study the code, if you have any questions, so that you can ask me in the next lecture. Like I said, first assignment will be based on recreating it, and I'll give you a small enhancement to do as well, but that's the basic idea in basic image processing. All right, I'll stop here for today.